and welcome to today's Daily Distinction. Hope you're doing great. And wherever you are, wherever you're watching, it's great to have you here today. Thank you for being here. If you're watching on the replay, and it always amazes me. I look at the numbers almost every day of how many folks are watching Daily Distinction, and it's just amazing, just stunning to me how many of you are watching on the replay. And I thoroughly appreciate that. One of the great things about the replay is that you can share the replay just like you would do that if you're watching live. So if you're watching on the replay and you like it, I would really appreciate it if you would hit that share button so that folks can see Daily Distinction thanks to you. And good grief, crazy to me what the numbers are of how many folks that are watching. So, hey, Brian, I see you've been watching the replay lately. Glad to have you here live today. Hello from sunny Wisconsin. I'm glad to hear that it's sunny up there. I know there's been some rain through the Midwest, no doubt about that. Hey, Dwayne, and hi with your business partner. Good to see both of you here. To Belinda, we'll say hello today. I don't know if he's watching or not, but those of you that watch frequently know that occasionally a friend of mine from back home in Indiana pops on here and makes a comment or poses a question. And his name is Richard Mellencamp from back home in Jackson County, Indiana. And Richard sent me a note today saying that he just wanted to make sure that I knew that my hometown of Crothersville, Indiana, posted that it's hiring a new police officer on Friday. And basically, Richard's concerned because he knows the speaking business is slowed down because of the pandemic. And he just wanted me to know that it's not too late to get my application in to be a patrolman in my hometown of Crothersville. And the problem is, I think there'd be a lot of folks in Crothersville that wouldn't like that because they know there's people I might arrest as soon as I got the badge, baby. I'm telling you, that would be. But thank you, Richard, for keeping your eye out for my job opportunities. Hey, Tim, great to see you as well as we're doing it virtually here today. So, hey, and before we get on the topic at hand for the day, too, a couple of reminders. First of all, please go to DistinctionNation.com. DistinctionNation.com has all types of free programs and courses and things you can download and really great just a resource of what you can do to set higher goals and stand out during a time of challenge and change that we're going through now. It's absolutely free. Just go sign up. Really appreciate it. That's DistinctionNation.com. Also, please set a reminder every Sunday night at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. Ken Wall's Glenn Morshower, famous from 24. By the way, congratulations to my buddy Glenn. My friend Glenn, I'm so excited. It had been rumored that it was going to happen anyway, but the official notice came down yesterday that Fox Television has renewed The Resident for another year, and Glenn's role in that is growing because he is the father of the main character on the show and is just taking over as chairman of the board of the hospital. So I'm sure Glenn's role will be expanding there, and really excited for Glenn about that. If you haven't watched it, it's a terrific show. Tammy and I were watching it before Glenn came on. It's a terrific show. It's called The Resident. Be a great show to binge on Fox. So that's 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific every Sunday night. And if you go on Facebook, we got a Facebook page by the title of that show, by the way. Just search for that on Facebook. And this past Sunday, our guest was Brad Sham, who is the voice of the Dallas Cowboys, 40 years on radio for the Dallas Cowboys. And it was just fantastic. You don't even have to like sports to like the interview. He's just a fascinating, wonderful person. And I think you really enjoy hearing from Brad Sham. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about today for a bit. And that is letting it go. Why is it so difficult? Why is it so difficult to let things go? If you, by the way, I'm going to pull up here on Facebook real quickly because if you follow me on Twitter, you saw that we were having all kinds of connectivity problems yesterday with our internet service here, and it's just such a pain. And I just want to be certain, I hadn't pulled it up yet, but I just want to be certain that that it's coming through okay and that the video looks all right. Yeah, it seems to be okay from what I can see so far. I was down slower than dial-up last night. Down slower than dial-up. I'm paying $130 a month for the top end, best internet you can get, and I'm getting dial-up speed. Can we talk about delivering what you promise? Well, that's a whole nother story, but we're going to talk about letting it go today. If you are a parent and kids are home, you have probably heard the song "Let It Go" so many times in quarantine. You're about, you want to strangle me right now for putting that earworm back in your head about letting it go. It's been a mantra for those of us that have been in the speaking industry for a while. One of the most well-loved, I guess, respected speeches ever given at the National Speakers Association was from my friend Joe Calloway. And that was the title of his speech at that convention many years ago, called Let It Go. So Let It Go has been something we've been talking about for a long time. Letting it go seems to be something that we all need to think about and focus on. But why is it so difficult for so many of us just to move forward? As we talked about yesterday, why is it so difficult? I'm not talking here about letting go of something that's important. You know, for example, if you've been through a personal tragedy, you want to move forward through that, but you want to keep it with you, because that's what I'm talking about are these relatively minor things that irritate us, or habitual patterns that we get into that hold us back and prevent us from being as happy and as fulfilled and as rewarded in life as we should be. Why is it so hard to let it go? Hey, here's Ellen. She's got a good one. FOMO is a big reason. Fear of missing out. Remember, not everyone or everything needs to be in your front row. If it's not fatal, it's fixable. I appreciate that. Is it fatal or fixable? Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, look at that, Randall. Ohio State Fair. Got to let it go. Got to let it go. Here's Deborah with her challenge. If I got to come up with one more username or password, I'm going to throw up. Now more difficult internet connections. I can just let it go. Yeah, it's hard sometimes. It's there is a video that I saw this morning, and it's why I wanted to talk about this. And again, as you know, here on Daily Distinction, I don't talk about what my political aspects are. Beliefs are. I don't talk about what I believe in terms of the COVID-19 and the government response. And that's not what this is for. Matter of fact, this is kind of the antithesis of that. This is the opposite of that. This is the time that we can get together and talk and not have that negativity around us. But I saw something this morning, and it inspired why I was doing this. And I'm not talking about the position that this woman was taking, but have you seen the video of the woman? She's got dark hair, and she is going absolutely berserk in front of I'm assuming a grocery store or it's some kind of retail store. And she's got her iPhone out and she's taking pictures about how that you can't enter without a mask on. And she's yelling at the people out front. It's against the law. You can't require me to wear a mask. It's Bill Gates and them are behind all the, I love that line, Bill Gates and them. But they're behind all this, and this is illegal. And I mean, she goes berserk, just crazy, shouting at them, it's against the law and you can't make me wear a mask. Now, why did I think of let it go then? Well, a couple reasons. And again, this is not about what you feel about the pandemic. It's not even about what you feel in a way about masks. It's about life. First off, why did she get so worked up? It's more than just the mask, right? I remember, gosh, it's been a gazillion years ago. I remember waking up one morning and the paper was on the doorstep and it was New Year's Day. And I opened up the paper and the headline in the Indianapolis Star was "Husband Kills Wife Over Cupcake." Now, That's a great way to start your new year, right? But uh, 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 over a cup, it wasn't over a cupcake. In other words, it's the old cliche about the straw that broke the camel's back. The cupcake was the final straw for that horrible husband, that horrible person. But it wasn't the cupcake. It was maybe 10 years of arguments that the cupcake was, right? And so for this woman, I honestly don't believe it was the mask that set her off that way. It was a combination of things, what she believes about the guy. So one of the things is there's always more than what first meets the eye in something like that, which is why it's so hard to let it go. Maybe we don't even realize all that's there. Now, the other thing it struck me about her behavior is she's yelling at these poor folks that are standing in front of the store. Do you think they had anything to do with the mask wearing policy established by the home office in the corporation, probably thousands of miles away? She's yelling at people that can't help her, that can't change the policy, that can't do anything. So all she's doing is yelling at people that don't need to be yelled at, that they're doing their job. They're just there. There's no reason for her to take it out on those folks who, if they don't do it, they'll lose their jobs. This kills me at airports. Deborah, I know you fly a bunch, at least before all this happened. And you would see, and it's usually a guy. Don't mean to be gender specific, but in my experience over many years, it's usually a guy, and the flight's delayed on a mechanical problem. I've even seen it happen when there's thunder and lightning and wrath of God storms going on right outside, and you can see it through the window. And there's always some guy that comes up and lays the person behind the counter at the gate. They just lay him out to dry. And the other great line, do you know who I am? It's just the dumbest thing it's ever said. Do you know who I am? We better stop that thunderstorm because this 2 million mile flyer is about to get on the plane. Oh my God. Serious. I mean, first of all, the gate agent wants to get you on the plane just as badly almost as you want to be on it. They want to get you out because they can't leave work until that flight takes off, right? They've got to keep things moving. And so why are you yelling at the one person who's doing their best to make sure that the plane is leaving? You're yelling at the wrong person. Let it go. But they can't let it go. Why? Because of all the things that are going on in the background. There's more, maybe it's a bad business meeting. Maybe they've had an argument with a spouse. Maybe they've had whatever it is, and they take it out on the. So here's this woman taking it out on these poor people whose jobs depend on them making sure to wear a mask to go in. Then she said, it's against the law. You can't do this. But I did notice she had on a shirt and shoes. So if you can say no shoes, no shirt, no service, what's the likelihood that you can also say no shoes, no shirt, no mask, no service? Now, you might not agree with that policy. My goal here is not to say what policies you should or should not agree with, but it's their store. It's their store. And if there's a great video from here in Vegas yesterday. Joe Calloway shared it with me about this person at Costco. And you can tell the guy comes up and he's wanting to make something happen because he even mentions, I have 3,000 Instagram followers and all 3,000 go. And the guy from Costco is fabulous. He just goes, hey, I just want to say hi from Costco to everybody watching in. Thank you for being Costco members, those of you that shop here. We appreciate you. But he's fabulous. He is so great. And the funny thing is, the guy thought it would go viral and everybody would support him for being mad at Costco because they wouldn't check him out because he wasn't wearing a mask. And instead, everybody jumped on saying, way to go, Costco, way to go. I'll bet you 98% of the people were supportive of Costco. Number one, the person behind the counter was nice. Number two, when the guy walked in Costco, he saw the sign that said, you must wear a mask to shop here. He saw the mask. He saw the mask. He saw the sign about the mask. And he still it. Right? So the woman would have been so much better off to let it go and say, and show herself on the video, show herself saying, I disagree. As a customer of the store, I disagree with your policy about masks. You have every right to have your corporate policy, but please know I'm going to take my business elsewhere because of the policy that you have regarding masks. That would have been intelligent. That would have been proper. That would have been kind, because the people that she's yelling at and being so unkind to are people that can't make a change anyway. It got me fascinated about, why does somebody like her, why does somebody like the guy that was shopping at Costco, why do people have such a difficult time in letting it go? I mean, okay, so you got to wear a mask to shop there. It's their choice. Put on the mask or don't shop there. You don't have to make people feel awful because of it, particularly people who can't do anything about it. So what about it? Deborah? Yes, you see it at the airport all the time. I got to tell you, this is a few years back, but it's the best I've ever seen. And I've heard other people say that they've seen a very similar thing happen. But this guy is raising hell at the gate. I mean, he's pounding on the thing, and he's gonna sue the airline. He's gonna sue the airport. He's gonna sue her. And he said those famous words, "Don't you know who I am?" And she picked up the mic and said, "We could have your attention, please, at gate 23. Does anyone know who this man is? He's obviously forgotten who he is. We have a man here that is asking me who he is." And everybody at the gate started laughing at this guy. And he kind of beat it out of the gate, because everyone said, "Does anyone know who this man is?" Evidently, he does not know who he is. He's asking me if I know who he is. It was perfect. It was so good. So why is it so difficult, Deborah? You see that all the time. Oh my gosh! See, look at this shooting in Arizona because someone got mad. Another person was not wearing it. It's crazy. Let it go. Let it go. So, hey, Ernest, as always, great to see you. Danny says, "I'm coaching someone right now about selling on the eBay platform, not liking the pie." Say, yes, it's their policy. It's their policy. If you want to utilize the business, right? The rules. That's just the rules. Right? Hey, Terry, long time no see. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Hope all is great with you back home and everything. How are you? Costco is conscious. Yes, they're trying to do right by their members. By the way, notice they're not just customers, they're members. You have to agree to the regulations of Costco even to be able to shop there. All right, so why is it so doggone difficult to let it go? I'm going to suggest 3 reasons that that's the case. And number 1 is fear. Fear. Either we're afraid, and I think that was part of what was going on with this woman, parts of what's going on, is that we're afraid of something. Now, you can say in your choice whether that is a rational fear or an irrational fear, but nonetheless, fear plays a major, major component in our inability to let things go. It might be we're afraid of what the results are. It might be that we're afraid of the unknown. It might be that we're afraid of what it might lead to if we do this. But until we conquer that fear, we're not going to be able to let it go. Now, I'm not saying that the fear has to go away 100%, right? I'm not saying the fear has to go away 100%. But it does have to get to the point that you're willing to overcome it. Yeah, someone talked about that the opposite of courage isn't fear. The opposite of courage is conformity. But I also suggest to you that, the opposite of fear is not courage. The opposite of fear is action, right? When we're willing to take an action to confront our fears, it doesn't mean the fear goes away. I had somebody say, Scott, you've given so many speeches, you must not get nervous anymore. I get nervous for every speech. You kidding me? Stand backstage, you'll see my palms sweating. I'm not the nicest guy to be around because I'm so focused on what I'm going to say when I walk out. I get nervous every single time before I speak. because my mentor, the late Grady Nutt, said something that stuck with me for forever, which is you only get nervous about the things that matter. If you didn't care, you wouldn't be afraid. You wouldn't get nervous. Now, the key is not that you don't get butterflies. The key is that you teach your butterflies to fly in formation. Isn't that a great line? Old line, but still a great one. It's not that you don't get butterflies. It's that you teach your butterflies to fly in formation. So fear is always going to be an essential part of this. It doesn't mean that you, forget about fear. What it means is that you manage it. You figure it out. And I know you're in New York City. You've got an amazing perspective on this. Yeah, the guy would have got hurt. Yeah. I'll get some masks that have prints that I love. A fashion statement, Danny. I love that. A fashion statement. It is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking on all sides. I agree. And again, it's not about what your position is. There's other places to discuss that, but it's heartbreaking on all sides. The people that are so fearful that if they step out of the door, they're going to die. And the people that are so fearful that the country that they love is being run over by whomever, whatever conspiracy theory they buy into. It's heartbreaking as well to see that happen. Hey, Terry says, people say they refuse to wear a mask because they're afraid it'll lead us down the slippery microchips, vaccine ideas. Yeah. But yet, conversely, the store tells them they have to wear shoes. Okay. It's like nobody's getting in a fight at the front of the store because you told me I had to put a shirt on. But we're afraid of whether the fear is irrational or rational. It does not matter to that individual because the reality is the same for them. Whether we find it rational or irrational, the fear and the result is absolutely the same for them. So we got to deal with that. Here's reason number 2, desire, right? Hard to let go because we want what we have to be better. I've heard it said that this is kind of like a trapeze artist, Think of the circus and the trapeze artists. And what makes that so scary to watch and what makes what they do so impressive, here in Vegas, it's Cirque du Soleil performances, or when I was a kid, there was a circus that came through our little town and watching these folks on a trapeze, I remember as a kid. And part of what you notice is to get to the next bar, they've got to let go of the one that they're holding. So to advance to that next one, you've got to let go of what you already have. And it might be our desire to keep swinging on this particular bar a little bit longer. And that fear comes in there. We don't have the desire to move us to the next step. Or it might be the desire that, gosh, if we just stay here a little longer, we can get better right where we are. Oh, it's going to be all right. And we delude ourselves into thinking that staying on this same bar is going to get us where we desire. To move forward, we can't stay in the same place. That sounds so simplistic, but we forget about that, right? Hey, you got to let go of where you're currently standing if you want to move to a better place. But we have the desire to have both. We have the desire to stay in the same place and to make where we are better without movement, without moving. Yeah, they will hurt someone and trick. Yeah, what a great point. On both ends of the spectrum. It's such a great point. I'll protest my freedom to the point that it's taken away. Right? Gosh, it's so good. That is so true. Yeah, but if you're wearing a mask, you're liberal. If you don't, you're Republican. Really? Yeah, I have yet to see the political of a mask, right? I mean, of a mask. Wild. Yeah, Scott, right. I mean, it gets back to what we talked about yesterday. It is what it is. And you may not like it, but it is what it is. Accept it. Move on. Make something better happen. So there's the second, is desire. But here's the one I think that's often overlooked. And it's ego. It is this incredible fixation that we have on being correct. Now, look, my my longtime buddy Pete Giacomini was a senior executive at a company that Pete is not a scientist, but the people that work for him are. And one of the things that Pete wrote today was really striking and I thought really profound. He wrote that science is not to be accepted. And that really shocked me, right? Because here's a guy that his life was built on working with scientists. And he said the purpose of science is to be challenged. And the progress in science happens when it's challenged. And it made me think that that also means that you can't have the ego to hold on to what you used to believe when it's something else is proven new and different. You got to have a pretty low ego for that. But some people want the solution. They want the answer. Remember yesterday we talked about the how we're trained to from the time that we're kids, how we're socialized to believe that the first right answer is the right answer. Stop looking for alternatives. 2 + 2 = 4. Stop. There is no other right answer. That's it. Well, if you find another right answer, a better right answer, it also means that your ego has to be in check, that you can let go of what you used to believe. And for some people, just that connection with being right is such a driver that they cannot let it go. My buddy Jeff says, I'm always right as long as my wife says so. Yeah, you've been well trained. That's a joke Tammy tells about me. She said, I was looking for Mr. Right. Little did I know I found Mr. Always Right. Right. So, yeah, but that's part of an ego thing, right? Is that we have to have the answer. We have to be right. Just don't drive wear your car driving down the road by yourself. Yeah. We have to get our ego in check, right? It's not that important about being right. You know, one of the great lines is that businesses succeed. I think it's true of people as well. Businesses succeed when we stop worrying about who's right and start focusing on what's right. I don't care about who's right. I want to do what's right. And when we focus on that, now all of a sudden we get better at letting things go. So yeah, Pam, you like that? She's got me nailed, doesn't she? So Scott, exactly. That's saying what I'm trying. That's saying it better. It's give up making it a priority to be right all the time. It doesn't need to be the priority. Worry about what's right, not who's right. Hey, Denise, great to see you. Yeah, having a great week, and I appreciate you being here. So let's think about overcoming our fears and how we can do that. Let's think about the fact that if we desire to get better, it's going to require movement, which means letting go of that rung that we're on now and moving to the next one. And let's keep our ego in check. Those are all of the ways that we can focus on letting it go, moving on. At the end of the day, is it really that important? Last thought for you here. I've always practiced, and it's one of the things when Tammy and I got married that I tried to impress upon her 2 sons. I've always practiced what I call the 5-year rule. And the 5-year rule is 5 years from now, will this really make a difference? Because if it will, man, I'd better focus on it. But if it won't, I need to step back and think about it. So, for example, part of what I was telling them was, if the roads are icy, 5 years from now, will it really matter that you drove slowly? I mean, if you speed on icy roads, there's a chance you can have a wreck. And 5 years from now, man, that's a bad thing. But 5 years from now, nobody's going to remember that you took an extra half an hour to get home. Tammy and I dealt with this all the time when I was traveling. There were a couple times, man, I was just so exhausted and just so tired. and I was supposed to catch a 5 a.m. flight to come back home. And Tammy would put it right back on me, and I appreciate she held me accountable for my thinking there. And she would say, "Hey, 5 years from now, if you get sick or if because you've absolutely pushed yourself to the limit, hey, 5 years from now, I'm not going to remember whether you got home at 9 o'clock or whether you got home at 1 in the afternoon. Take your time." So that's what we have to think about. 5 years from now, what's really going to matter? For the person, ranting and raving in front of a store, 5 years from now, she's going to think, man, this really wasn't worth it. Not a bad rule to think about and consider as you decide where you're going. So let's avoid the fear. Let's think about what we desire. Let's hold back on the ego. When we do all of these things, then we are much better equipped to let it go. Hey, thanks again for sharing. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for those that are signed up at Distinction Nation. I will be back again tomorrow, same time. Hey, we got Jay Baer is coming as a guest here in a week or so. I'll have more information for you on guests coming up very soon as well. As always, thank you for sharing. Thank you for being here. It's my best half hour of the day. I love it when you're here. So I'll look forward to talking to you again tomorrow on the next Daily Distinction.